Oh my gosh, a slice like that really sucks.
That sucks.
But how do you fix it, especially when it matters when you're out on the golf course? I'm going to show you how. First step is the release, okay? I told you we don't want to be holding on to it. We're always holding on to it. We need to release it. And we need to release it more with your front arm, okay? In my case, the lead arm. And how we can really encourage that release is not so much thinking about the wrists for now, even though that can help. I want us to focus more on this elbow, all right? If I flip this club around, and I want you to do the same, stand up with me, because you're gonna do this whilst you're waiting for the group ahead, or even as your partners are swinging or hitting their shots. I'm going to actually stand with my feet pretty close together, but I'm just holding the club in my left arm only, upside down. And what I'm trying to do here is release the club, but allow my elbow to be pointing down a little bit here. I'm not compressing it in. I am allowing it to release there, like a swashbuckling sword, okay? Pirates of the Caribbean, chopping through. I'm releasing it. I'm not steering it. I'm not holding on. I'm keeping my right side quiet because I'm releasing the driver this way. So just to show you slowly what I'm doing, here's my backswing. I'm feeling like my back is staying to the target a little bit more, which we're going to go into for the next one, for the next step. But I'm allowing this club to drop. The back of my hand here, okay, the back of my hand or my whoop band or whatever, I am allowing that to turn over, but I'm feeling like my elbow. If I had like a laser coming out my elbow, it's actually going to feel like it's pointing down that way as opposed to over there. This is the guide. And by taking the club this way around, we can release it properly. And I'm allowing that club to overtake. It's not flipping because I'm not just stalling everything. I'm allowing my arm to go through, but then my body is following suit. And my elbow's pointing down. That club is sort of pointing towards the target a little bit. And I have that release, that whip. And you know what can help to visualize this a little bit more is think of a Frisbee, okay? Think of a Frisbee. If you were having to throw it left-handed like this, okay, as far as you can, you're going to release it like so. That elbow is going to be coming down and around. This is power. This is effortless power and accuracy, because this is how we're squaring the club face in the most natural, easiest manner possible. Now we work on the rest. What we're going to do, we're going to cross our legs over, right? We're actually going to cross them over like so. Now, I want you to test both ways. One of them is going to be easier for you than the other. So I'm putting my left over my right, okay? And what I'm going to do here is just try and make complete golf swings, but I'm trying to stay balanced and I'm trying to feel that same release that I just felt. But I'm not staying totally and utterly static. I'm still feeling like I've got movement in my core and my body. However, when I'm doing this, it's very difficult for me to want to sort of, if I come over the top this way, with that leg over the top here, if I come over the top, it's going to put me off balance. Likewise, if I put the leg over the other way, I can stay a bit more balanced, but it's actually encouraging me to get away with swinging over the top because I've got that right leg over. I'm making my backswing and I can get open a bit more. It feels a little bit easier, but I'm not fixing or exaggerating my path. What that's doing is encouraging me to wind up behind, but now as I drop those arms, it's enabling me to keep my back to the target a little bit longer. If I do that, I'm going to strike it well and release it. If I get dominant, like this takes over, I'm going to be here and kind of stumble and fall over. So I can't cheat. And that's why it's so very useful. You hear the word effortless in golf quite a lot, but what does it really mean? One of the most valuable things you can do is have an effortless feeling golf swing so you can play an entire round of golf without it sapping all your energy, without every single shot taking that much force and effort. And I'm going to show you the simplest way to feel effortless power and consistency. And it starts with the feet. When we're trying to force the golf swing, we end up using the hands too much, the upper body too much. When we get tired, or when we've got a little bit too much tension, or we're trying to generate more speed, we kind of forget about what's happening down here. Using the ground, using our entire body, using the most natural ability that you have. Yes, you. Because you can walk, you can move around. We need to use the body gravity to help us. I want you to try this with me. Get up right now. Take a golf stance. So I am relatively in my posture, my setup, all right? But I'm just going to put my feet together. I'm just going to either put my arms across my chest or let them hang. I don't particularly care. But what we're going to do is we're just going to step to the right, just a little step here, and applying that pressure into the ground here is actually the initiation of the backswing. Okay, by applying pressure into the heel down here, applying pressure into the heel, that actually initiates the entire movement of my backswing. I'm not swaying my upper body, I'm just applying pressure into the heel. And that little athletic step is going to allow me to make a better backswing. And what we're also going to do, we're going to apply that pressure to here. But just as soon as I've done that, as soon as I've felt the pressure sort of reach my heel back here, I'm actually going to allow this front foot, for me my left foot, I'm going to allow that to move across. Why? Because it's showing that I'm loaded into this side. I can actually lift up that leg. And that's what we can do. Instead of just stepping, I want us to just lift that leg up here. So I'm lifting that leg up, but staying in balance. And that is my backswing. Just to say, as if I would about to throw this, I would get a bit of momentum, just like a pitcher, right? Just to here. Now, I apply that pressure back down. I apply that back down onto the outside of my front foot here. That pressure shift is what lowers the rest of the body. The arm, the club unit, and the chest and the core works through. Now my intention is to get this trail foot through to a full finish. It's broken down into 3 little compartments. All right, we shift into the trail foot. We raise that heel up so I've got the balance. I step it back down. I shift. That's number 2. And then I finish all the way through here, like a step through, right? Obviously, we're not going to hit golf shots like that. You can, but you don't really need to. It's more of a practice swing, especially when you notice your swing getting a bit short and jerky. You want to start feeling this movement. So it's here, here, okay? We work on that, and now we just do it in our practice swings. So we apply that pressure down, it throws the club up, but I'm making sure that my leg comes off the ground and I plant it back down, and there I am, a full swing, and then I step through. It's exaggerated, but it's going to give you that awakening feeling of getting through, using momentum, using the ground, using movement. This is going to start to make the swing feel a lot more effortless. The setup with the driver is crucial. Too many of you are skipping several of the steps, but you have to hear me when I say this. When you get the setup right, your swing improves like that because there's less manipulation. So let's get it right with ease. First key, I want you at address to move your lead hip. For me, my left hip, I want you to move this up, okay? It's gonna make a lot more sense when we get into the second part with the backswing. But moving this left hip a little bit further forward, so this leg is kicking in a bit, and we have a bit more tilt here, that's gonna enable me to move a lot better in the backswing. So it's not just bumping the hip forward or leaning forward. The way to do it is actually, I want you to put the club across your shoulders like so, so it's staying pretty level. When we move the hip further forward, we don't want to be dipping down because that's going to get you stuck, which happens a lot. So we want to move this hip forward. There's a slight little kink here, but we're maintaining more or less a level shoulder width. Too often we're way too low with the hands here, the backside sticking out, so we can't get enough of a swing and we have to end up swinging over the top, forcing that kind of action. We can eliminate it by a big amount, literally by giving ourselves a little bit more room. So we're going to stand a little bit taller. I'm just sort of tucking in my backside. So it's not as angled here. I'm just bringing that in a little bit and I'm allowing my arms to hang pretty naturally. I don't want to be too close. I'm just raising my chest up. I'm feeling nice and tall and my arms are going to hang naturally about here. Okay? That there is my radius. That there is important because I don't just move my club to here because I'm always going to be fighting returning back to neutral. So I find this position and then I shuffle forward into the ball to find my balance and to find my radius. And this here makes me feel much more athletic. It's going to make it easier for me to get a fuller swing, even if I get only swinging to about here. It's much easier when you're a little bit taller and you have that reliable radius. If you've been told to have the ball sort of opposite the heel here, what happens, it gradually gets further and further forward because you're feeling more and more stuck. But the further forward it goes, the more we have to sort of find it, and then we start chasing it with the upper body and we get that pull slice crappy shot. We don't want to just move the ball a little bit further back, okay? We do, and we're not really paying any attention to the feet. If you really have to, we're just looking about a club head inside here. And you think that's kind of far back for a driver. Bear with me a moment. It is if you have your old setup where you're not having that lead hip up a little bit. You see what that does? That changes my angle of attack, and then from there it feels much more comfortable. If I was over here, I'd be having to compensate and that arm would collapse in, various other things. So I'm going to have it at least by my logo here, on the inside of my logo, right? That's where the ball position we're trying to be. I don't want you to set up the club right behind the ball. I want you to actually set it up a club head behind, sort of on the inside. So I'm moving it back to here. And you can see now, oh, that club's aiming right, but all it's going to do is encourage my path to go more that way rather than this way. And it's going to help me deliver it without too steep of an angle of attack. It's going to help me sweep it up there. And it's simply by starting just a club head back and on the inside. We don't want it to go out here, just there, very naturally. What are you looking at when you hit your golf ball?
What are you looking at?
It makes so much more difference than I wager you realize. I put my ball in, and if I can, I'm going to orientate a line or a number or whatever it might be about where I want to strike it. Now here I want to be striking it sort of up this side, but also on the inside a little bit. So I'm exaggerating somewhat, but I'm going to try and feel like I am hitting that line here. But I'm going to apply my friend's tip of focusing on just the end of it and 3 dimples. I'm not going to start my swing until I see those 3 dimples clearly. And then when I swing back, I'm going to hammer it there. That's what we're trying to do, because I do not want to be looking at the front of the ball, because that's going to encourage me to come over the top. Now, why not just look at the top of the ball? Well, if we stay on top of the ball, we're kind of not one or the other. We're just sort of staying centered. So I can be a little bit too on top of it because I'm focusing on top. With the driver, that's not ideal. With the irons, we might be sort of stuck in no man's land. So if we do something like this, keep your eye on the ball, let's do it properly. And that's why it's really important to not just pick the spot that you want to look at. Getting focused on those 3 dimples is going to give you that clarity and that green light. Focusing on the dimples on this side. Easy peasy. That is going to give you consistency. That is going to give you something to execute the shots with confidence. Try it and let me know how you get on. Now, if you want to make sure the rest of your swing is kind of supporting the focus and intentions you're trying to get, I've got a couple of lessons here that are going to make simple golf more attainable and a better swing for you. See you next time.